Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Welcome to Talk Gertie to Me, the Charm Patterns podcast, where we chat vintage glamour, sewing, creative rabbit holes, and fashion history, all through a campy, queer, and feminist pop culture lens. So throw on your favorite silk robe, grab a mocktail, and let's get started. Hi, everyone. I'm Gretchen.
And I'm Andrea.
And we are back today to do one of our creative rabbit hole podcasts.
Yeah, this is so exciting. I actually love talking about vintage swimsuits, so I think this is perfect.
Yes, and that is the topic for today is the two swimsuit patterns we have designed.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have been on a journey with both of these.
Yeah.
So it's been like a 4-year-long journey. Mm-hmm. And I think we've been through a lot and learned a lot.
Yeah. I think it's actually closer to 5 because it released 4 years ago.
Yeah, you're right. So this is a 5-year journey.
Yeah.
Learning about vintage swimsuits, learning about what people want when they say they want a vintage swimsuit pattern.
Very true and also very important.
Learning a lot about ourselves and the lengths we're willing to go to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think we have a list of things sort of like in our last, this is similar to the Slutty Italian Summer podcast where we just talk about sort of like the behind the scenes process.
Mm-hmm.
And so first things first, let's talk about 5 years ago. You kind of just started working at Charm.
Yeah, I was just part-time sample maker, and I would come in and just a couple days. It was one of those things. It was my escalation. It was a couple days a week. I would come in and then I would take things home and sew at home for you. But I was just sewing what you said.
Yes.
Kind of until this point, I think.
Yeah, and I think that the Esther swimsuit, which is what we ended up calling it and releasing it under Charm Patterns, and just to give people a context, right? Because as we have learned that this is an audio medium and we need to describe things that we're talking about.
Yeah, everyone doesn't know intricately what each of our patterns looks like.
We don't even know anymore.
That's true.
So this was, 5 years ago. I had a lot of requests for a vintage style swimsuit. I am somewhat of a collector of vintage swimsuits. There's definitely like a little stack of them in the back. And I was really excited to do sort of a modern take on a vintage swimsuit. But as we discovered, there's a lot to think about.
Yeah. Vintage swimsuits are very complex.
They are. So let's talk about what the Esther swimsuit ended up being and how we got there.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up being a pretty complex, incredibly structured and supportive one-piece swimsuit with princess seams, sort of an optional neckline band.
Mm-hmm.
It had an internal bra with a 3-piece foam cup, spiral steel boning, had a bra back closure. It had a variety of choices of bottoms. It had the infamous bloomers, which we'll talk more about. It had just a regular panty bottom, a ruched panty bottom, and then a skirt.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was so structured because we used spandex underlined with heavy power net.
Yeah, and it came to like your natural waist.
It was a little
on the
like
back
drop waist. Oh, right. It had a basque waist.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was really hitting all the like, give them what they don't want in a swimsuit.
No, at the time it was give everyone the ultimate vintage swimsuit.
Yeah, but looking back, I'm like, what was I thinking? People hate basque waists. They hate dropped waists. They hate, what else do they hate? Bloomers, we know now.
They hate bloomers a lot.
They hate having to do hooks and eyes to get into their swimsuits.
Well, I mean, yeah.
So yeah, that's the other thing to mention is that the closures were pretty complex. They're to be able to get into the suit because it was so structured.
Yeah.
It had to have a row of hooks and eyes at the lower back.
Yeah.
With like, remember the sort of like guard that went under it?
Yeah.
Like a sort of little modesty panel that went under your hooks and eyes?
Yeah.
And then a bra back closure.
Yeah. And those hooks and eyes were because we tried to put zippers in.
Yeah.
And realized that no one wants to put a zipper into a power net spandex combo
I don't know what you're talking about. I love that. I want to do it all day.
That was the moment I was like, I think I'm bad at this. And I had to show you the surprise set in. Oh, boy.
Okay, but let's talk, because I feel like our listeners are going to say, what were they thinking? And I feel a little bit like that looking back at it. But there was a very clear process to why we made all of those decisions.
Yeah.
And they seemed like good decisions at the time.
I don't think they were bad decisions. Here I am. Esther's defense.
Well, yeah, that's the next thing I wanted to say was I kind of want to come to our own defense here and say that Esther is a very cute swimsuit and it's incredibly supportive, which is what people are always asking us for.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think we get a lot of conflicting requests, which can be confusing as a designer, you know. People want something that's easy to sew, is easy to get on and off, but also incredibly structured and with internal bra support and all of that.
Different cup sizes. Yeah, they want all of that.
So it's a little bit like you can't hit all of those marks, but I think we had a clear goal, or at least I had a clear goal in mind, which I've written about this. I've written a whole like chapter in a book about this.
Yeah.
So if people want to read this in the written word, in my book, Gertie's Charmed Sewing Studio, there's a whole chapter about vintage swimsuits and inspiration and what went into making the Esther swimsuit. But I just want to give a little backstory now, which is that vintage swimsuits of the 50s specifically are so different from our modern swimsuits. Like they're not even in the same family tree anymore. I feel like they're a new breed because the fabric was so different. You know, swimsuits used to be made from wool, right? Like in the 30s, like a wool jersey. And then there were a lot of fabric innovations in the early part of that century, like going into the 40s, and then stretch fabric. There was no Lycra at this point. And one of the early forms of Lycra was called lastex. And this was a type of fabric that was, I mean, the closest thing to it now, I think, is like a sturdy stretch woven.
Yeah.
But there's really nothing that we can use that's the equivalent of lastex. And I think that lastex was magical because it was a swimsuit fabric. You could submerge it. It was very structured. It was, it shaped your body really nicely. And it was incredibly stretchy. So if you think about like our Jane set too, that jumpsuit, those original jumpsuits were made from lastex as well. And it's really hard when you're kind of creating something based on a vintage design, but the fabric is no longer available and you have to come up with solutions. And looking at my collection of swimsuits, and I think we should include photos of these in the show notes, right? But these swimsuits really resemble like what we would think of as a romper now.
I think there's also something to be said about those vintage swimsuits that like they do the work of foundation garments.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then this is a real evolution of swimwear is that like at some point in this, I think it was the 70s, everyone wanted to be free and now no one wants structure anymore.
Well, but then remember we went back to it with like the miracle suit or whatever it was called. And then everyone wanted their like the tummy smoothing and bust lifting and all that. So I feel like it kind of comes and goes.
Yeah, it does come in and out, but it's doing the same thing as like a lot of those swimsuits that we've looked at in your collection. It's like, might as well be a Merry Widow.
Yeah, exactly. They have interior bras, they have padding, they have spiral steel boning, they have zippers, all right?
They have zippers.
They have metal zippers.
Yeah, in my defense, spandex is very wobbly and it does not want to go.
We're going to call this episode Andrea's Redemption. Oh, in my defense.
In my defense.
Everyone knows that it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
I think
it's pretty hard to make it look elegant.
It's some would say impossible.
Yeah,
is what we learned.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so my collection of vintage swimsuits would be things like Cole of California, Catalina, Early Jansen, and then my favorite designer to collect swimwear from was Rosemary Reed. And you may have heard a thing or two about Rosemary Reed because her designs and the marketing behind them are somewhat of an ongoing obsession for me.
Yeah. Even in periods where we're not making swimwear. We are referencing Rosemary Reed and the Jewels of the Sea.
The Jewels of the Sea! So, yeah, this is where I lose my mind. Rosemary Reed, she was a really interesting designer because, as you were just saying, one of her famous quote. Well, I'm saying famous.
Just world-renowned quotes.
When you think of Rosemary Reed, you think of the quote. Yeah, I know. I think famous in my own brain.
Famous to Gretchen.
Yeah. One of her famous quotes, Andrea, is that she said she felt like swimsuits should be structured like evening gowns, and they should shape the wearer's body and make a woman feel like she's wearing an evening gown.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful way of explaining the difference between like a true vintage swimsuit and what people want today.
Yes. And her ads are really, really gorgeous. Like the marketing behind her line, I think, was so genius. And she was famous for these I'm just gonna stop saying that.
You can keep saying it.
A lot of her suits have bloomers, right? They have like sort of pleated bloomers. They have interior bras. They're made out of sturdy lastex. And then she had these different lines. One of them was the hourglass mallow, which I love that. So yeah, it was all about creating an hourglass figure. There was the draped sheath. So a lot of her necklines were similar to, I feel like, what we design at Charm. Like the Liz dress, which is that pleated shelf bra dress in a bathing suit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Or Lana, the pedal bust. She had pedal bust swimsuits. Okay? And so her ads were these sort of like dreamy pastel. There were often like 3 models in a row wearing different variations on a design and in different colors. And this is where we get to the jewels of the sea.
Very important.
So there's one ad, and you know what's really sad? Looking at my book now, Gertie's Charm Sewing Studio, I could not access the rights to print the jewels of the sea ad.
No.
I know. So it's not even in here.
Well, if they want to see the color palette, they can refer to a couple of other things that we've done. I feel like that has like an outsized influence in your brain, that Jewels of the Sea ad.
Yeah, I think when I'm 90 years old, I'm just going to be repeating Jewels of the Sea to whoever will listen. It'll be one of those like, sure, Grandma, let's get you to bed moments.
You know, in retrospect, I do remember at the time, like I was still new, relatively new, and it was like you would say things like, well, we're just going to be referencing the Jewels of the Sea ad, like as if I had like the Jewels of the Sea ad.
I'm like, the famous Jewels of the Sea, Hourglass Mallow, Rosemary Reed. What the hell I'm talking about.
How famous it is.
We're so deep inside the recesses of my brain right now.
And I'm like, well, Gretchen said it's famous, so it must be famous, and I just don't know. It's like...
It is famous, Andrea. Yeah. So the Jewels of the Sea, it was, so 3 models, each was wearing a different pastel colored draped sheath. Okay, so one was pink, one was seafoam green, and one was like a powder blue. And it's gorgeous.
It is gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
I have seen that. We'll have to find a link to that.
Yeah. So often we're not even working on swimsuits, and we'll be talking about Jewels of the Sea. We did a Lana dress photo shoot. We did a Jewels of the Sea color scheme. Yeah, so it's very influential.
I think our petticoat also had that color scheme, the sea monster.
Jewels of the Sea.
That's why we called the petticoat the sea monster.
Yes, okay, so we did a petticoat pattern not too long ago, the first pattern in our new foundations line, which was 3 layers of silk organza, one of which is the most gorgeous coral pink, iridescent. There's a sort of sagey pastel green, and then the beautiful like Cinderella blue.
Yeah.
It's Jewels of the Sea.
It's
100%.
So beautiful.
It's so beautiful. It also got completely out of control to where we started calling it the sea monster.
Yeah.
It got so big.
I remember bringing all the layers in because I was working on this at home because I just needed to sit there gathering and French seaming organza for days. And I brought it in and I was like, Gretchen, and I put it on the table and it just stood up.
And that was one of my what hath I wrought moments.
Yes.
Which is another one of my favorite phrases where we're really deep in something and I feel like I may have gone astray somewhere. But you know what? The thing about petticoats is that the bigger The bigger, the better.
The bigger, the better. I love that petticoat. I love every time we get to use it.
It's gorgeous.
And we got to use our Jewels of the Sea earrings, and I was so excited.
Oh, yeah. We also have custom-made Jewels of the Sea earrings in this color scheme. Okay, so anyway, we've gotten a little off track.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
So the idea of doing a vintage-inspired swimsuit to me would be recreating essentially a Rosemary Reed swimsuit.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's just literally not possible with the materials that we have available to us.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing like lastex anymore.
Thus the spandex underlined with power net.
Yeah, so I think some of the first experiments we started doing were like, how are we going to replicate lastex? And I ordered so many swatches. Do you remember that
Yes.
part of the process? I found, like, I went deep into rabbit holes of, like, outerwear fabric companies who have, like, stuff called super spandex. And I'd be like, this is it! And then it would arrive and I'd be like, oh, this is not it. But I was sure that there must be something out there that replicated lastex. And I think there is not.
Yeah.
There may be like stretch bengaline, I would say is probably the closest thing, which is hard to find in the
Yeah,
US.
and also realistically, not something a modern woman thinks about as swimwear.
Exactly.
Like,
You
you're
make
like,
dresses out of it.
Yeah, I'm going to put a stretch wool bengaline on and go lay by the pool. That's not what people think about.
Well, to be fair, the bengaline I'm thinking would be like probably a rayon poly lycra blend, which isn't too far off from like, modern swimwear spandex is usually nylon and like a hell of a lot of spandex. But everything else about it is different because we're looking for that structure. And bengaline, like it's not something that people want to swim in today in 2025. They want to make sheath dresses out of it.
Or a little romper.
Or a little romper.
Yeah.
From the beginning, my thought process was, how do we recreate the effect of lastex in something that people will want to swim in today? And that's when we started layering things.
And I was like, okay, that sounds great. And it was great. I mean, I feel like it's advanced underlining. This is not putting a layer of muslin under your satin. This is like you are stopping and starting and making sure nothing puckers, and you're sewing like specifically from the side where the spandex is on the bottom, and there's a lot of ways you have to navigate it to make it become one piece of fabric so that it has the qualities of lastex, but the modern materials that we have access to.
Yeah, and you just gave a really good sewing tip, which I want to just point out, which is that when you're sewing two different fabrics together, like maybe an underlining thing, and one of them is like a real pain in the ass and harder to sew than the other.
Yeah.
The pain in the ass one goes on the bottom.
Yeah.
Always. Because it's much easier to control with the feed dogs than with the presser foot on top.
100%.
So
really what drove that into my brain forever was this bathing suit, because I was making a lot of bathing suits.
you made a few.
Yeah.
You've made a few. Okay, so back onto our journey. Swimwear fabric today, like let's say you go to Target and you buy a swimsuit. It's made out of spandex. Like it's sometimes called milliskin. And it's usually like 80% nylon, sometimes polyester, blended with like 20% spandex. And it's 4-way stretch, and it's very, very stretchy. It dries quickly, etc. Like basically it's good for swimming in.
Yeah. Which makes sense because it's a swimsuit.
Yes. Yes. It is great for swimming in.
But who swims?
Anyway, we'll get into that later. I think the first thought process was, how can we make this really stretchy fabric that is good for swimming in? How can we make it feel more structural so that we can do some interesting design details like Rosemary Reed might have done, like princess seams on a swimsuit? Yeah. And the way that we had the most success with was underlining the spandex with heavy power net as opposed to power mesh. And so that is a very sturdy, like it's used for foundation garments and it's quite structural. So blending the two together gave us something that was still appropriate for swimming, but had more structure than just the spandex on its own.
It's interesting because I actually love swimsuits that have that power net in it because I feel supported.
Yeah.
And what I look for in a swimsuit is like, I want it to feel like a vintage suit, no matter what.
Yeah, and I think that there are suits that still do that, right? Like the corset one that you bought
My beloved
from, from Instagram ads. Those sort of corset back ones will have power mesh all in the front panel, but not the back or whatever.
Yeah.
And the corset back is a really elegant way to deal with the fact that you can't get into it once it has all of this power mesh in it, or power net.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So let's just talk quickly about a couple things that we tried, including putting a zipper in, like a vintage suit would have. It's really hard to sew a zipper into spandex, is what we discovered.
I can talk about that all day.
Also, we dealt with, do we have a bra back? That was one of the first things you suggested. And I was like, oh, this Andrea gal is really
because
smart.
We actually tried, wow, I am down memory lane right now. We actually tried a swimsuit that came all the way up the back.
Yeah.
And it was not humanly possible to get in.
To get it on, yeah. You can't pull it over your hips.
Yeah, because you want it so compact and structured.
Yeah, so it has to have some sort of opening. Closure and a closure.
Yeah.
So we dealt with that. We ended up going with the hooks and eyes and the bra back. We wanted to replicate the boning. Like that was really important to me because of the Rosemary Reedness of it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It had to be like a Charles James evening gown. And so one of the things that we did, which looking back is like, is this where we lost the plot? People, one of the things that people are always really concerned about when we use spiral steel boning in our patterns is that they think it will rust. Like if it like gets wet, or they hand wash it, or do anything other than dry clean it. And that's like a very common fear.
Yeah.
And can I just say another boning fear that people have?
Yeah. What?
This is my favorite comment that anyone has ever put on any post I've ever done. Someone on a Facebook post about one of our bone bodices said that spiral steel boning is really dangerous because it can spontaneously, like, basically separate.
Uncoil?
And she said that uncoil, and she said she was at a Renaissance fair and a woman was wearing a corset where the boning uncoiled and shot through her skull and she died.
What?
And I was like, I'm going to need a source on that. Because if someone died by corset at a Renaissance fair, I feel like there would have been media coverage of it.
Wow.
Also, then I started separating spiral steel. I love doing experiments with spiral steel boning. I was like, what happens if it separates? Because people think that it's like spring-loaded.
Like it's under tension, like a peanut can full of snakes?
Yes, that can pierce your skull, Andrea.
Skull.
Your skull. So after I heard this myth, which people do not believe this if you hear it. It's a myth, okay? If you try, you cannot make spiral steel boning spontaneously uncoil, even if you wanted to. I've like ripped it apart. It's basically like a zipper. The two sides come apart from each other. They are not under tension.
Yeah.
It can't shoot you in the brain. Okay, I'm sorry. This memory just came back to me and I just needed to share.
I can't believe you've never shared this urban legend with me.
I can't believe it. And the woman who commented claimed she was there and she saw it with her own two eyes. And I'm like, well, what's it like being just like a pathological liar? I'm sorry. Some comments stick with you, you know?
Just shooting through your brain.
At a Renaissance fair. What a way to go. I feel like death by boned bodice.
She loved her turkey leg so much.
Her last meal.
It's like wench
funnel
bodice.
Cake and Okay, so that's one misconception about boning.
Yeah.
Another is that it rusts.
That's much more pedestrian.
It rusts and then you die. No.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I understand that fear because we always fear metal can rust.
Yeah.
And it's inside valuable fabric and you're worried about staining. And sometimes you get a safety pin that's like not properly treated and I leave it on my bathroom counter and then it stains it and I'm yelling, you know? So I could see that fear. Yeah. But we tested this.
Yes. And so also, I mean, what I've always told people is that there is a coating on spiral steel boning which would prevent it from rusting.
Yeah.
What I didn't know was how long would it prevent it from rusting. And this was our next science experiment. Mm-hmm. where we decided that we needed to see if you could use spiral steel boning in a swimsuit through a science experiment of submerging a cut piece. Right? I was like, felt very strongly it had to have like a cut end into a glass of water. And we left it on the little kitchen countertop in the studio for weeks.
Like at least
months.
a month.
Yeah.
At least we were like, well, what if you get into a pool for a month? A freshwater pool. And then we were like, we better check salt water too. And so we like filled a cup with salt water. Like salt and water.
I don't remember this, but I believe you. I believe.
We were like, wow, what if someone's in the ocean for 6 weeks?
Was it like little salt packets from like a takeaway?
Yeah, like the
restaurant or
salt
something?
and pepper. We're just like the salt and pepper and like putting all the salt in, leaving little plastic cups of bones all over.
Do you ever just think like maybe we're a little crazy?
It falls into the category of like, this is why it's hard to explain my job.
Yeah, it's a little hard. So this is what we were doing at work. And I guess, we'll get in more into actual swimming later, but the fear is also with any materials that you use in a swimsuit that it should ideally be chlorine resistant and saltwater resistant.
Yeah.
But for how long? You know what I mean? How long are you going to stay submerged in your spiral steel bone swimsuit?
Yeah, people do like to dry off in between beach outings.
They do. They tend to.
Yeah.
So what we found was that it did not rust.
Yeah, we didn't see any rust, even with our month of exposure.
Oh, and we had one that was inside a channel. So it was exposed to, because I'm like, how did we know it wouldn't affect the fabric? So we put it inside a cotton boning channel. And so what did happen to the boning was that the coating had worn off a little bit. So it had like a slightly rough texture. Spiral steel boning feels like smooth and shiny. Yeah. It had like a rough texture. And that's all that happened in a month of being submerged in water.
Yeah, and that's something I don't think you would actually perceive as a wearer because it's inside a channel.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not going to rust the channel.
Yeah, you're not going to be like end up with like a rash because the bone's against your body.
Right. Or you're not going to die from rust poison.
You're not going to die from rust poisoning. It's not going to uncoil and shoot from your side seam into your skull. You're going to be fine.
You're going to be fine. Okay, so that was the boning experiment of 2021 or 2020. Let's just get to when we released Esther, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So we did a Pride photo shoot. We collaborated with Casa de la Flores with flower crowns and the colors of the Pride flags. We did a whole thing.
That was the first photo shoot I was at.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a
deep pandemic. There were 7 models.
Yeah.
Everyone's like masked up. We hadn't seen them before. It was a real adventure.
So we did a sort of rainbow effect. We had models who identified as pansexual, lesbian, non-binary. We had a trans model. Like we tried to reflect the Pride flags in our models' identities, and that was really important to us. When it came out, the reception to Esther was like chaotic. I don't think you were around at this point.
I wasn't. I had some life stuff going on, and I left for like 2 months.
Yeah.
To have knee surgery.
Yeah.
So I came back late July and was like, so how'd it go? But
and I said, I don't want to talk about it.
Pretty much, yeah.
There were a few things going on. I mean, talk about a series of dumpster fires. The first thing was that I think the Pride thing rubbed some people the wrong way. And I remember there was a discussion of like, are we pink washing? And I was like, what's pink washing?
Yeah.
Which apparently is when a non-queer owned organization would like use Pride to capitalize on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm literally wearing one of these Pride crowns. You know what I mean? It's like I have to come out like every time,
over and
over again. I'm just going to use queer-owned business on every post that I do. People are going to be like, she's really, into that identity.
Yeah.
But I don't want to have to like come out every few years. And especially if people are going to take this. I mean, people were really like wound up at that time, I will say.
I don't think people were in their best headspace generally.
Yeah.
Not that I think it's gotten remarkably better personally, but I think it's the place where since then we become very protective when we do these things.
Yeah. Oh, completely.
Of our models and
That's the most important thing to me is that, if we are using a model for a pride shoot and they are putting themselves out there, I don't want them to see or hear one negative comment about themselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're very protective now. And I think at the time, I thought we were doing this amazing thing that would increase, like, our visibility.
And we had such a wonderful and just feel good time with the shoot. Just like being like, wow, look how amazing these photos are.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is something important.
Yeah. I mean, there's just a combination of things. One being, queer people who felt like it was not our place to do this. But then also people who, I think the meaning of like the flag colors was completely lost on. Because I remember saying in a crowdcast or something, I was like, oh, so we used the colors of the lesbian flag for this model. And people were like, wait, what? There are different flags? And so I was like, oh my God, like how much further back do we need to go? It was my first, I guess it was sort of like a coming out of sorts of like, here we want to be visible in this way. Mm-hmm. And I learned, what can happen. The next thing was what I call Bloomergate.
This is what I truly missed all of.
It turns out that people hate bloomers on swimsuits.
Just for all reasons. Like it's just...
I guess it's just one of those things that as a woman in 2025, you're just like, absolutely not. You never see it anymore.
It's an interesting thing because the reason bloomer, like in my mind, right? I'm like, oh yeah, bloomers, because bloomers give you more of an hourglass.
This is why Rosemary Reed did it.
Yeah.
For her hourglass mellow.
They help like you look even more shapely, like more voluptuous. So yeah, use a little bloomer.
Well, it's a very like new look. Let's just like get into Christian Dior and the new look. Like that is the way you create the illusion of the hourglass is building up the bust line, right? Through all that structural stuff like the petals and the blah, 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 and the shelf bust. And then also the hips, right? So that could be through a full skirt, like the bar suit, you know what I mean, with hip padding, or it could be through a bloomer on your bathing suit. And these two wider points on the body make your little boned waist look smaller, and you create the hourglass new look effect in a swimsuit. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's really cool too. And the other thing is that it was so, now I know it was very divisive.
It was, yeah. People just like hated it.
But there were so many other bottoms. So I'm like, but then just don't make that one.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like there was the little skirt bottom, which I love.
I love the skirt bottom.
There's one with ruching on the sides. There's one that's just like a little panty bottom. I love the skirt bottom too. There's a lot you can do with it that is not the bloomers.
I love a bathing dress.
A bathing dress.
My very sweet sister always makes fun of me that I'm like, give me a conservative bathing dress.
Like a Victorian bathing dress.
Yeah.
Getting wheeled out.
Can it come to the knees? That's better.
Okay, so there was Bloomergate. There was some controversy over our sizing at that point, which I think this was very valid. At that point, Charm had been in existence for 3 years. And our size range was 2 through 20 with separate A through H cups. And when I first started Charm, I was like, I've never seen a sewing pattern company do this range of cup sizes with this range of sizes. So I felt good about where we started, but I think it was a criticism that we faced constantly in the beginning. And unfortunately, we didn't have the resources to do it for a while because, as you know, it takes twice the money and twice the labor to create a second size range. And when you're a burgeoning indie sewing pattern company, you don't have unlimited funds.
Yeah.
But I think what we learned through the sort of backlash around Esther, which was, about the design, it was about the Pride photo shoot, and it was about our sizing, there was enough noise that it felt like time to... It was a market that I wanted to serve anyway.
Yeah.
But I think I felt like it's time to remove this barrier towards people discovering Charm and being able to enjoy Charm patterns. I never wanted it to be something that felt exclusive to any part of the market, but it's hard, But I think at that moment, it was a real galvanizing moment where we were just like, let's just do this.
It's time.
It's like, I don't know how we're going to afford it or how we're going to there's not enough hours in the day for us to do all the work.
Thinking. Yeah.
Like the math isn't adding up in any sense, but let's just do it. Let's just say we're going to do it. And we did it.
And there were some growing pains, but the team has grown expansively from this time.
Well, at that point, I had one full-time employee.
Yeah.
And now we're a team of 10.
Yeah.
Some full-time, some
departments.
part-time, some remote, etc. But we know how to do it now. And so we were able to expand into a second size range, which was 18 through 34, also with A through H cup sizes.
Yeah.
So Esther's release was like a real moment that I look back on as kind of like a positive one, but also a painful one.
Yeah.
You know?
It was a real period of growth. And like, okay, we're on to the next stage.
And as you know, I said, I am never doing a swimsuit again.
Yeah.
Like I I centered the pain around the fact that it was a swimsuit.
Right. Not just like a perfect storm, a period of growth, a lot going on.
Nope.
You were like, well, swimsuits, that's the problem. We're never doing one again. And you were like, just get rid of all the spandex.
Okay. Yeah. So we had a bin of spandex, a huge bin of spandex. And I told Andrea, I was like, I don't want to see this in my studio. I was like, I'm never going to do a pattern that uses this type of fabric ever again. So I want you to take it and donate it.
That's right.
And you did. We donated it to the Binghamton costume shop.
Yeah, I did. And I was talking with our assistant, Theo, about it. And I was telling him about that. Well, I brought all that spandex up to the costume shop I used to run. And he said to me, that's why we had all that like primary colored spandex?
Because he was a student at the time.
He was a student at the time, and it was like everything I brought was like bright yellow with polka dots and just like a very specific genre.
And this is a pattern with us where if something like disgusts me to the point, like that lace, the greenish gray metallic lace, I just want it out of my sight. And your job is to be like, you're being crazy.
Yeah, now I'm like, no, I'm just gonna put it. I'll put it on the bottom shelf, and you don't have to look at it.
Right?
But I'm not getting rid of it. I can't get rid of it.
But at the time, you just took me at face value.
At the time, I was like, okay, she said no more bathing suits, and here we are.
Here we are. Okay, so now we've released our second bathing suit, and let's talk about how that happened. I think as the years went on after Esther, I wanted another chance. I wanted a chance at redemption because I felt like I learned more about what people wanted in a vintage, I'm using air quotes right now, a vintage style swimsuit. They do not want Rosemary Reed, Jewels of the Sea, hourglass sheets.
Yeah.
They essentially want, I keep calling it a spandex ruche tube, which isn't fair.
That's not fair to your beautiful design.
I know, because it does have beautiful shaping to it. It has it does have an hourglass shape to it. It does. But to me, there's your spandex tube and then your super structured swimsuit. Those are two types. And that the way that people achieve
swimsuit binary
is a swimsuit binary.
Or tube.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I believe in the binary when it comes to swimsuits.
Only for swimsuits.
Yeah. So
same.
Right? So what I came to believe after, and I don't think I'm wrong, is that when people say they want a vintage style swimsuit, they want a spandex tube that has ruching. It has the little modesty overlay that looks like a little tiny mini skirt that covers your crotch sometimes. It kind of rides up sometimes.
Yeah.
And they want like maybe cute little features like a bust knot. They want a halter strap. Mm-hmm. And that's what they want when they say they want a vintage style swimsuit.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah. Vintage style, not vintage construction.
Yes. And I think maybe some people want shaping. I know people want support, but I don't think that they want the level. I think they want to be able to pull it on and it goes all the way up their back.
Yeah.
And with no zippers.
Yeah. There's not a hook and eye in sight.
No. So that means it has to be a pretty stretchy tube.
Yeah.
You know? And I will say, like, I'm sure there's some people listening right now who are like, no, I want the other one. In which case.
Have we got the swimsuit for you?
In which case, let me introduce you to the Esther swimsuit from Charm Patterns. But also, I think I would love to revisit the Esther style, but in like a stretch woven fabric as a play suit. It's not a swimsuit anymore.
Totally.
That style.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, I decided this year we're doing Hollywood icons for Patreon. we have to have an Esther Williams month. And so I said, why don't we just do another swimsuit? I think I'm ready.
Yeah.
How did you feel when I said that?
I mean, I'm always game, so I was like, okay.
You do always say, okay.
That sounds great.
And part of what prompted this was a pop girly that we all know and love or have mixed feelings about, named Sabrina Carpenter.
That we know, love, maybe don't love, have different feelings. Yeah.
This was last summer when, the summer of espresso.
Oh my gosh, the studio was just like, I think you'd be surprised how much pop music I listen to, guys.
It was Barbie summer, and then it was espresso summer. And the first time I listened to the song Espresso, I was like, what dumb genius is this?
Yeah.
My favorite lyric of all time is, that's that me espresso. Modern Shakespeare.
Yeah, and I just have no context for pop music. Unless I have to be sat down and someone has to like explain it to me and like show me pictures. There's a slideshow.
There's a PowerPoint.
So I was just like, yeah, this is catchy. Yeah, sure.
I tend to like base my entire personality around something new that I love, as you know. So I became super fixated on this song. I had it in my head for like at least 3 months nonstop. And I wasn't mad about it.
No, yeah.
I don't
really into it.
I'm still not sick of that song.
It was also your summer of swimming.
Oh yeah.
I think you were swimming
swam
all
a
the
lot.
time.
I got a tan
Yeah.
at the campsite.
Yep.
I went to the pool a lot. I'm
Yeah.
a pool swimmer. So anyway, the espresso video, which you have now watched today.
I did. Okay.
You had not seen it until today.
Yeah, today is the first day that I watched the
1
video.
year after
Yeah,
the
that's
espresso
right.
summer.
Yeah.
So what do you think of the video?
It was so cute. I loved it so much I could put it on loop.
She wears like 6 different retro swimsuits.
They're
I'd say.
all wonderful.
Yeah, and the
Except the beaded one. That's not for me. But
Yeah.
all the others, like the
Like all the
white one with the starfish.
I love that one, which we found out today was custom made by a tailoring studio in
Yeah.
Long Island City.
Yeah.
Who knew that existed?
Yeah, it was so much fun. The colors were fun.
But the suit that really grabbed my eye was the sort of nude illusion. Everyone says it's brown, but it's actually like a bronze like lining with ruched black mesh on top and a little like cinched bust line and a halter strap.
And I think you can add to that she's dancing on top of a surfboard while she does it.
Looking so cute.
Looking so cute.
And she's got like 60s hair. She's got slutty Italian hair.
Yeah, this was part of the hair.
And she was wearing a big black hair bow. Very 60s, very Brigitte Bardot. It was a moment. I loved it. I became obsessed with that one swimsuit, and I researched it, found out that it's by Norma Kamali, who is a famous designer, who's been doing this since the 70s, right? And I ordered that swimsuit, and it is like so flattering. I swam in it, used it, I loved it. What I was shocked by was how simple the construction techniques were on that suit.
Yeah.
It is a zigzag on a home machine that only does a zigzag and a straight stitch. That's what it looks like, right?
Yeah, when you brought it in, we turned it, this is a fun thing people do when you're interested in patterns, is that you're constantly just grabbing pieces of clothes and flipping them inside out and having discussions. But yeah, it was like shockingly simple.
Yeah. And there's no interior bra.
There's no nothing.
There's no nothing in
It's
there.
a true spandex tube.
It's a tube. But that, to me, was the inspiration to do a swimsuit again, because it had the ruched tube vibes with the halter strap, very vintage looking, has the little modesty over skirt thingy.
Yep.
And it also had the sort of raciness of the nude illusion. And I wanted to recreate it. I was like, I think this idea is getting me excited. And that's what I need, is I need something that's going to like get me excited about doing it again. And so I sketched it up and we dove into, you like that?
Yeah.
We dove into what is now called the Bathing Beauty swimsuit, which we just released on Patreon.
Yeah.
And so we need to describe it for our audio medium. I think it's pretty similar to the Sabrina Carpenter version, the Norma Kamali version, except ours has a ton more ruching.
Yeah. I mean, from the outside, it has a lot of similarities.
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But ours has, a lot more ruching. I feel like the one in the espresso video, having it fresh in my brain from a couple of watches this morning, is like, there's almost no ruching across the torso.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which maybe if you're Sabrina Carpenter is great, but I want more ruching than that.
Yeah. I found as someone who is also not Sabrina Carpenter, like when I actually swim in it, I would literally adjust my tummy ruching every time I got out of the pool. And I would say, I'm just going to adjust my tummy ruching. Like it's like a ritual every time I get out of the pool. And because if you have a tummy at all, the ruching is going to like ride either above or below it.
Yeah.
And so if you have more ruching, it's more flattering.
Yeah.
So that suit is very much the like retro, vintage inspired ruche tube. It has the low leg opening, very low, almost like straight across with your crotch.
Which is great for full coverage. If
Very
you don't
full
want one
coverage.
of these like high leg suits.
No, it's not. It's a low leg. It's like a boy's short.
Yeah. Yeah.
The little overlay. I love the halter strap. We did a little bit more cinching at the bust.
Yeah, that feels like a little cute vintage touch to me, that nice knot that we put over top of it.
Yeah, the Norma Kamali suit did not have, it just had like a gathered tiny seam there, which had like, remember that little like elastic stay it had on the inside to cinch it? And yeah, I think at some point we were like, this would be so much cuter with like a little black velvet knot around the cinching. So we added that. But yeah, I mean, that was the inspiration. The sample that I wore in the photo shoot was like sort of a nude lining with black power mesh with sequins on it. When we get into these discussions of like, oh, you have to use chlorine-friendly elastic, I'm like, are sequins chlorine-friendly? You know what I mean? If you're going to be like that precious.
Yeah.
Because the problem with the elastic is that it degrades over time, right? The more wears through the exposure to chlorine and sand and salt water.
Yeah, if you wear it. I mean, nothing is here to last forever. If you wear it, it'll probably degrade. It's not going to be a family heirloom.
But what I'm saying is that the sequins are also going to degrade. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so like who cares?
Yeah, and I think part of the thing about the suits from the 50s is they were really, a lot of them were more for show.
Oh, yeah.
Like the one I have in my collection, the Cole of California, that is like gold lame. Lurex is not meant to withstand chlorine exposure either, okay? So anyway, you can mix up your materials based on your use.
Yeah. This is more like, it can be more with something like a Lurex suit. That's a pool party.
Yeah, that's a Viva pool party fashion show situation.
Yeah, that's not necessarily like, I'm going to get my 20 laps in before I head to work in the morning.
But you could use a different fabric and different, different approach. You could do an opaque overlay rather than the mesh, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So I think the reception has been pretty good, but I feel happy with how, we added a bra.
Yeah, I like support.
I think we all do.
I feel like the bra is a worthwhile for the time and material commitment to just have a little extra support in there.
Well, people like support. They also like shaping, right?
Yeah.
And coverage. So we did add the power net bra with elastic at the bottom for support. And there also, you could like tack in molded cups if you wanted to, if you wanted that like shaping and coverage.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Tack it between the layers and you wouldn't even have it against your skin.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Esther Williams and the Aqua musicals of the 1950s.
You also had me watch one of these.
Yeah. So you'd never watched an Esther Williams anything, right?
Yeah, I know her just as a reference. I know pictures. I know that there's pools. that is probably where I like tap out.
So Esther Williams, I mean, both of these swimsuits are essentially named after Esther Williams. The Esther swimsuit and then Bathing Beauty was a movie that she was in with Red Skelton. So she was a competitive swimmer. Mm-hmm. And then she was sort of scouted to be in movies. Like as a swimmer in movies.
Question mark?
And she was signed to MGM, and basically an entire subgenre of films were invented for her.
Yeah.
Which is called the Aqua musical. And this is the most unhinged type of film from this period, in my opinion.
It was wild to watch this video.
So what I sent Andrea, I did send you an entire list of resources, which was very detailed.
I just could have spent hours and hours.
I was like, so if you have like 6 hours today to really delve into the world of Aqua musicals and Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah.
Here's where to start. Here's 20 links. You seemed a little overwhelmed by that. So I said, actually, I think you could just get away with watching the Espresso music video.
Yeah, I think as we got closer and closer to this date where we knew we were going to sit together, you're like, yeah, she hasn't done that yet.
I was like, watch 2 things.
Yes.
Espresso video and one of the spectacle sequences from the Aqua musical, $1 Million Mermaid. That scene, and I mean, just to describe it a little bit, it's like, it's in a giant pool.
Yeah.
And there's smoke effects. There's pyrotechnics. There are slides with men wearing loincloths, holding flags above their heads, and then women in gold bathing suits are sliding between their legs.
It's nuts.
Down a huge slide. And then Esther Williams is lifted by a ring very, very high.
Yeah.
And all the synchronized swimmers create an eyeball shape.
Yeah, they create like an iris.
It's
in
like,
an eye.
if you describe this to someone, they'd be like, are you high?
Yeah.
Like, are you okay? Andrea, are you okay today?
Well, so having watched only the clip, right?
Yeah.
My imagination is not strong enough that I can imagine the context for which this scene happens in a movie.
There is none, Andrea. I've only watched 2 Esther Williams films from start to finish, and that would be Neptune's Daughter and Bathing Beauty. And they make literally no sense.
Yeah.
The plot is there to serve the spectacle numbers.
Right. They're just getting you from
Not the
A
other
to B
way around.
each time.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, these huge spectacles are just what the movie was all about. I can't even imagine the budget.
Yeah.
The space they needed. And this is where we got into, I find this whole genre extremely creepy and uncomfortable.
I didn't know this until today either.
I think we've really delved into my psyche today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because as I was telling Andrea earlier, I have a real fear of like, okay, so you go to Disneyland, Disney World, whatever, you go on. I think that the Jungle Cruise is the scariest ride at either of those parks. Because
I'm sorry.
And I'll tell you why.
Please.
I'll tell you why. Because there's still dark water. I don't know how deep it is. There's also animatronic hippopotamuses and elephants with jaws that snap open and shut slowly.
Slowly, very slowly.
And they're half submerged in these dark waters. And that is the scariest thing I can possibly imagine.
This is a thing of terror.
A thing of terror, Andrea. Like, if I'm on that ride with, like, my, 9-year-old nephew, he's having a grand time. And I am, inching away from the side of the boat. I'm like, can I sit in the middle?
White knuckling it through the
I can feel, my heart rate accelerating. I'm really scared.
Wow.
And the Aqua musicals, like the scene we watched today, really trigger that same feeling to me. It's that the still water, you could not pay me enough money. I don't care what MGM wanted to pay me to even put a pinky toe into that water. That is terrifying. You don't know what's under there. And then not only that, but they have these creepy men.
Yeah,
and there's red smoke.
Yeah.
Exploding above your head.
Yeah, people inhale that. Terrible.
This whole scene is the stuff of nightmares to me.
For me, when I watched it the first time and then we rewatched it, it's like all I can think about is the hygiene of that pool. I am like, that is not for me.
There's no amount of chlorine.
There's no amount of chlorine.
Yeah.
So so gross.
After we watched it and we discussed our various problems with it, just personal problems, I did a little bit of Googling to see if anyone else had a similar response as me to like Jungle Cruise or like this feeling. And what I discovered today is that I have a real thing, and it's called submechanophobia.
Yeah. It's a very specific phobia.
I'm raising awareness for other people who suffer.
It's funny because, of course, like I'm like, yeah, you're just sitting on a little boat, and look, there's a robot. There's a robot hippo.
This is a very specific phobia.
Yeah.
Submechanophobia is the fear of partially or fully submerged man-made objects.
I'm not laughing at your phobia. It's just so specific.
I know, and I feel so seen by it.
It's like the fear of hippos in Disney World.
This is my fear. I'm so scared of them. And now I understand that I'm not alone.
Yeah. It's very important. Bring attention.
Should we do like Submechanophobia Awareness Month at term?
Where you just get creeped out by having to look at like tiny boat rides.
Yeah. And this is something I have like actually struggled with my whole life, is being scared of like things in swimming pools or like rides with like animatronics in them. And I do feel very comforted by this.
It's interesting because of your love of Disney World, which has so many water-based
I know.
animatronic rides.
And I do suffer through like Pirates of the Caribbean. Like my family really loves that one. We go on it a million times. But I need to sit in the middle because I don't like that water around me. I don't like the cannonballs.
That's a good tool.
Like the splashing of the water.
When I think of, the formative tale of you being on It's a Small World.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a story for another day.
Yeah, I feel bad that you have to suffer these water-based rides.
I mean, I do it.
Yeah.
I do it, but yeah, I need to have coping mechanisms.
Yeah, I also will not go in water, like not rides. I'll sit in a little boat and ride, but I will not go in water when I can't see my feet.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
No, thank you.
No, the fear of the unknown. The vastness of the ocean.
Yeah, it's probably like I had to go in too many terrible lakes at summer camp. That was the real genesis right there.
Well, and this is why I love pools.
Yeah, pools.
Yeah, pools are great because you know what's under there. There are no submerged or half-submerged animatronic figures inside them. You know?
Not a single, submerged hippo.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. We got through submechanophobia, suits that are not for swimming.
I think it's the suits that are not for swimming, which is that when I think of a swimsuit, I'm like, oh, what lovely loungewear to lay in a chair and read a book,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not doing a cannonball anywhere.
No. I do lazy laps back and forth.
Yeah. I like a lazy river.
Sure.
I will get in a lazy river.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I will read a book while my children tire themselves out in a pool.
Yeah.
That's for
fair.
me.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I don't have to be as worried about the chlorine exposure to
as some people.
My spiral steel bones.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much full circle on our bathing suit journey. The question I asked you before this was, do you think we'll do another swimsuit? Do you think there's a third swimsuit in our future?
Totally. I don't think you're going to get this bee out of your bonnet. I think there's going to be, there'll be a two-piece. Mm-hmm. I love the idea of thinking about a swimsuit as a romper. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You could put your spandex tube underneath it, but look really, really cute.
I like the idea of Catalina did these bikinis that were like a little skirt bottom for your bathing dress look, and then a halter bikini top.
Oh, yeah.
And they had custom prints on the skirt. So there would be a big lobster or a huge rose.
Oh, wow.
And I want to do, because, Spoonflower has this type of fabric now. So we could do
they do?
custom. Yeah, they have athletic wear.
Oh, wow.
Spandex. So we could do, or we could make it a non-swimming swimsuit. But you know what I mean? I like the idea of doing a custom lobster print. That's just one giant lobster across your lap on a two-piece.
I love that. It's so much fun.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
It'll probably be a couple of years.
Yeah, that's the other thing I said is this is more like a 2027 project.
Yeah, yeah.
We need at least 2 years in between swimsuits.
Yeah.
But this one was a lot easier.
This one was really fun. I mean,
Yeah.
Esther was really fun too.
It was, yeah.
It was a really tumultuous time.
And I think that we got really excited by the process and discovering ways that we could reproduce vintage in a modern way. But if the final product doesn't reflect that, like if we have to do an hour-long podcast and I have to write a whole chapter in a book to explain what we were thinking,
Esther redeemed.
then maybe it's not that accessible.
That is definitely true.
So this is just one more rabbit hole from the Charm Studio. All right, so thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Andrea, for joining me today.
Oh, thank you. This has been just a delight.
A delight. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye. Well, hello again, and thank you so much for joining me. That's it for this installment of Talk Gertie to Me. If I had to guess, I'd probably say this episode included a lot of fashion and pop culture references, some of which are best enjoyed in a more visual medium. So be sure to check the show notes for images and links.